In today's video, we're going to answer the question whether or not the XF 23mm F1.4 WR LM or the XF 33mm F1.4 WR LM. Look at that, look at that. Both lenses are great from Fujifilm. Both are very similar in focal length. And one might ask, which one would you pick if you can only pick one? At the end, I want to share with you guys some of my experience on both of these lenses and why these two lenses are in my kit. Let's get started. Let's start with the build quality. So these two lenses are the newer F1.4 lenses that has been released over the past few years. They made these lenses in preparation for the release of the 40 megapixel sensors such as the XH2 and the XT5, so they can resolve 40 megapixels quite well, but more on the image quality later. They both look the same, have the same uniformity aesthetics to them. If you take a look at the original 23mm, it has that focusing clutch where you can just, pull back and pull forward to activate manual focusing or not. This is not the case anymore with this 23mm. They also have the same looking aperture ring and the manual focusing ring as well. Both have the same filter thread size, which is 58mm. And this is great for any of you guys that likes to use diffusion filters like me, and you can share the same diffusion filter. The only way to distinguish them apart is through their marking on the lens. One stating the 23 and the other is 33. So they literally look identical and have the same length. And if you're coming from the F2 lenses, you're going to find these lenses quite big. But if you're coming from the full frame system, these lenses are peanuts and F2 lenses becomes mini peanuts. So you get the idea. It's all about perspective. The close focusing distance for each lenses are different as well. The 23mm close focusing distance is at 19 centimeters, which is pretty freaking close. It's like semi-macro sort of. And for the 33mm, it's 30 centimeters, which is also pretty close for a 50mm full frame equivalent. So if you like to get close to get those funky close-up shots, both will perform well respectively. And when we talk about the autofocusing performance, both of these lenses have the new updated linear motors. And honestly, I can't tell them apart. I don't feel like one has better autofocusing than the other. It feels to me whenever I am using either one of these lenses, they acquire focus and track the same. When it comes to sharpness, both lenses are incredibly sharp. Both take incredible images and both have a different look because of their different focal length, and both images are going to get super sharp when stopped down. I sometimes have a black pro mist filter on my lens just to soften the image up a bit, and that's how sharp these lenses are. Obviously, you'll get better and smoother bokeh on the 33mm at f1.4 than the 23mm at f1.4, and that is due to its longer focal length and what you call a lens compression. And we're going to talk about that in a moment, but guys, these two lenses can help you take incredible looking images. Both of these lenses are modern. They're both are super sharp. One could say that they feel a bit more clinical than the previous generations of lenses like the older 23mm f1.4 and the XF 35mm f1.4. So if you want those characteristics, you're not going to find it in these lenses right here. But they do look good and I haven't been disappointed in them at all. Now I know some folks are going to ask, wait a minute, Tongue, if the 23mm f1.4 close focusing distance is at 19 centimeters, can I just buy the 23 and just use it to mimic something that looks like it was shot from a 33mm? Yes, you can, and I've done that many times, but there is something you gotta know about doing that. It's not going to look the same. While getting close with the 23mm lens can give you a similar framing to the XF 33mm, there are differences in distortion and compression. Let's just say you try to mimic that 33mm look by getting close. You may suffer from a bit of distortion from the 23mm, especially around the faces. Sometimes something like a 33mm will naturally compress the background more than the 23mm, giving a different look and feel to the image. Also, the depth of field and the way the out of focus areas look can differ between these two lenses. The 33mm lens might provide a smoother and more pronounced background blur compared to the 23mm lens. And if you do decide to match the look just right, the bokeh balls could look totally different. The 23mm provides smaller looking balls. It may not look as round or as full as the 33mm. Talking about balls, man. Try to talk about balls while keeping a straight face. You can't do it. So while you can certainly experiment and use the close focusing distance creatively with the 23mm lens, it just won't look exactly the same due to the characteristics of the XF 33mm lens. So just keep that in mind. So again, choosing between them would depend on the specific look and the characteristics that you want in your images. If the differences are not like critical for your purposes, using the 23mm lens creatively can give you, some unique and interesting looking shots. I took amazing images with the 33mm lens, and I also took amazing images with the 23mm lens. When I want to capture more of an environmental portrait, I will be using the 23mm F1.4. So, I want to capture more of the landscape in the background, more of the urban landscapes in the background. I'm going to pick the 23. When I want just a bit of that compression, that bokeh, that toning, I'll take the 33mm F1.4. For me, it makes sense having both. I can get different looks with different lenses and not be stuck with one focal length. I like to switch things up for variety, and for some of you guys, you may see this as a waste to own both. These lenses have become two of my favorite lenses to shoot with, so I'm happy with these two choices. But if you still feel these lenses are too similar in focal length, maybe you can do something like an 18mm F1.4 and the 33mm F1.4, so that there's more of a gap in that focal length, like I said earlier. Or perhaps you can do like a 23mm F1.4 and a 56mm F1.2. I'm just throwing out suggestions here, guys. So try them out for yourself to see which one you like. At the end of the day, the 23mm F1.4 and the XF 33mm are for two different users, and it also depends on the type of photography you do. I see the 23mm 35mm full frame equivalent as more of a street photography, documentary, photojournalist focal length. And I see the 33mm 50mm full frame equivalent as a more classic standard portrait lens. So pick the one that suits your style and one that suits your needs as well. Although I'm sharing thoughts and opinion based on my experience, again, I gotta reiterate, it is not going to be the same as yours. So I highly recommend you conduct further research so you guys get a better understanding of what these two lenses can do. I've also done videos on why I like shooting with a 35mm full frame focal length, and I also done a video about why I like shooting with the 50mm full frame equivalent. I'll leave links to that video down in the description below if you want to do a deeper dive into how I use these two lenses for my portrait photography. And if you guys are interested in any of these two lenses, again, links are down in the description below. If you found this video valuable, consider subscribing for more Fujifilm content like this. Thanks so much.